Hey, paisans, the time has come. On the air since 2009, the independently produced, non-FCC compliant champ of video game talk podcasting. Here comes Tiger Claw Radio. Here's your host, Critical Failure.
Good morning, everybody. Time for Tiger Claw Radio. Oh yes, it's that time again. Alright, so this past week I spent some time over at the Free Music Archive. And I looked at their chiptunes, and they don't get chiptunes added too often, to be honest. But they do have some awesome stuff there. So I got a few things, and we're going to take a listen. This is the Thanksgiving edition of Tiger Claw Radio. Stick with us. That Saw Square noise from the Towel Defense OST. That's stage 2. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. We're going on location right now. Stick with us. What's going on, everybody? It is 10:10 on Sunday night. Just getting ready to turn in so that I can wake up and start my work week. Quick rundown of some of the stuff that happened this past weekend. I picked up the Command & Conquer Remastered Collection. Yes, over on Steam. It's one I've been eyeing for a while now. I honestly was not expecting it to see it come down in price at all, but I picked it up for about $13, which is pretty sweet. Started playing the first Command & Conquer game, because that's the one that I'm the most nostalgic over. gotta say, man, they did a really good job. Even like that when you first load it up and it goes through like a mock install process, and it starts to pick out like the sound card, and it's like obsolete. Man, it's pretty great. It's pretty great. And that the Electronic Arts, of course, historically did end up buying Westwood Studios, which was ultimately the end of Westwood Studios. But the EA stamp on the title screen is the old 1980s EA logo. Oftentimes we think of Electronic Arts, the modern company, as something that's the big corporate monster that they've become. But back in the 80s, when they were a smaller company making computer games that went into record album cases, they were doing awesome things, and that's what that logo reminds me of. It's reminiscent of like the pinball construction set, which is pretty dope. Got to see the new upgraded graphics to the old game, and again, gotta say they did a really great job. And it's been good. It's been good. Just the vanilla gameplay, just the main storyline on the normal difficulty. That's what I've been up to. I made it through about 2 or 3 missions. Nothing too crazy. I did look at the online mode. Apparently, there's some matchmaking set up as opposed to just random lobbies, which is awesome. So you can still play it online, and there is an in-game mod browser. So let's see. I'm not sure if this has the Steam Workshop or not. But they've got like a workshop sort of setup in game, which is dope. Didn't bother installing any of the mods because I'm just having fun revisiting the old vanilla gameplay. But that's been pretty awesome. So that was my evening tonight, was playing Command and Conquer. Apart from that, Among Us has been big in the house. Of course, this past week, kids are way more into it than I would have thought. The kids really took to this game. I even get to play with my wife a little bit. She got it installed on her phone, and when we went out, we sat in the parking lot of a Greek restaurant while we were waiting for our dinner to be prepared. We played some Among Us, me and her, and my goodness, what a game. Really enjoyed it. Couple other small pickups. I picked up a game called The Crew 2, which I just got today and installed. It is open world driving. Looks pretty cash, but it was on sale. So $10. Get some good driving. Something I can chill out and play. Looking forward to that. Least played game, I think, of the new ones that I picked up over the past few weeks, since I've had access to the store credit. Least played game would be Sid Meier's Civilization 6. I don't really know why I bought Civ 6, to be perfectly honest, because when it comes to Civilization, the game's no Civilization game is straight up bad, but like most people, I have my chosen Civ game, and that's the one I play. I like Civ 3. If I'm going to depart from Civ 3, it's usually to play Civ 2, because of our good buddy Hemrock. That's his chosen game. But I've had Civ 5, what was the current one, for many years, and I think I played a full game of Civ 5 maybe twice. So let's see how much time I have in that, because it's not a lot. 16 and a half hours. Now, to be fair, I probably paid about $12 for that game or something, so that's comparatively not too bad. Like, I got my money's worth. But that's the way this new one's going to be as well. Once I finally do a full game, I'll probably set it aside and go back to my favorite Civ, which is usually the case. I think that's about it. I reinstalled the Twitch app so that I could keep up with old Desmond 101, his streams I've been into lately. But after doing so, I revisited Salty Bet. Y'all familiar with Salty Bet? That's the old 24-hour broadcasting of Mugen. It's just Mugen, that's all it is. Goodness knows how many random characters that get pitted against each other, and you just watch the computer battle it out. But the idea is, every time a matchup happens, you got about 30 seconds to pick who you think is going to be the winner. It's a good time, and every year at MagFest, the past like 4 or 5 times I've went, they've had some sort of Salty Bet event in the middle of the night, and every year I've wanted to go, and never quite made it, just because whatever it was, it would start at like midnight or something, and midnight on Friday or something, and if you wanted to play on Saturday, the time to do it would be like 7 in the morning. So I tended to not stay up that late on Saturday nights at MagFest. So that's Salty Bet. I have no idea what the live event consisted of, but it still runs on Twitch. Complements the multi-monitor setup very, very well. You know, put Salty Bet on the left. Watch him battle it out. Play something on the right. There you go. It's good times. Back again in the studio. Should we do another one from Saw Square Wave? I really kind of like those. Stick with us. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Well, boys and girls, it's the day before Thanksgiving. And what perfect time to give thanks than to thank our Patreon sponsors, because this is a Patreon-sponsored program, yes indeed. Head over to Patreon to keep Tiger Claw Radio on the air. To the sponsors, my dear friends, I like to give a little thanks. I read their names off in Hall of Distinguished Gentlemen here on the air. Yes, that's right. Now, traditionally, I had been offering early access to the show, but these days, release is coming out right after it's created, so I'm still working on that. My interest is in bringing back the After Hours feature show that we used to do once a month for the sponsors. But that aside, I do read their names off here on a Hall of Distinguished Gentlemen. And they are Hemrock, EmeraldRangers.com, Tecmo Balls, Darabka, Konstantin Kilman, and Eric Controller. Thank you guys so much. I hope you're enjoying the party. All right. So, it being the day before Thanksgiving, right? Let's head over to Steam and see what's going on in the sales. We had the sale for Halloween, which, strangely enough, it wasn't looked at as a good sale. Most of the people I spoke to didn't think much of it. But because I have trashed all of my skins for Counter-Strike Global Offensive, I actually had a good time. I don't know, what are you going to do? And I'm heading over to Steam, and there's no sale going on, which I gotta say is very weird. I can't account for it, to be perfectly honest. But we'll see, you know. Maybe they'll roll something out tomorrow. I don't know. What are you gonna do? This is Digital Cat Sith on Tiger Claw Radio. I don't mind a super abrupt stop. It's okay. Good track, though. I gotta say. Alright, let's see what we got here. I tried a game called The Crew 2 this past week. This is one of the ones... I think I was looking at this when we recorded last week, but I pulled the trigger on it. I like racing games on the computer. I like casual racing games. The more hardcore they get, the more they start to lose me. I went through a brief period where I was into Project Cars and Assetto Corsa, but didn't last long. I like the arcadey feel. So I got this game, The Crew. It seemed to be where they mix in some open world and some multiplayer. Looked good. So I picked it up and I installed it. This is a Ubisoft game, so it uses the Uplay software. So that bothers a lot of people. It doesn't really bother me that much, but you definitely, like, when you buy it on Steam and you launch it, it's literally just a link to the Uplay version of Steam. So it takes a little bit to launch, but that's alright. Not a big deal. It's not the first game I have like that. I have one of the Anno games that does that as well. But anyway, so I launched this game, and I started driving around, checking out the city, right? You start by picking a character. You don't get to make a character. You pick one, which is fine. Who cares? And you have sort of like a multi-vehicle race type event. Where it's like, okay, street racing in a car, and then you drive off a bridge, and now you're in a boat. So there's boat racing, and then it ends with flying in like a prop plane. Which, by the way, I hated the planes. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just I don't like flying in video games. Maybe I just don't like planes. I don't know. But I hated the flying. Driving is great. It's fun, fun game otherwise. But the actual flying of the planes, big pain in the butt. I definitely kept flying into buildings. And, yeah, that was not great. But I play. How long do I have clocked in this game? Because I only sat down with it once. But the long and short of it is, I got into the actual game, like past the portion that was like the introduction, where you get down on the street. Because I wanted to drive the cars. That's why I got the game. And I played it for a while, and then the character pulls over to the side of the road and gets out and looks at the screen and is like, dude, you gotta lower the graphics down to potato mode. You think you can play like this? Oh yeah? You like the speed? I'm gonna go at 10 miles an hour. How about that? Are you having a good time now? I want low settings, bro. You can't do this in a 750 Ti. Are you kidding me? We're laughing at you when you were on the option screen and you thought you were gonna get by with medium settings. Turn the settings down, bro. Or we're going 10 miles an hour and that's it. So, I'm starting to feel like the pangs of shame every time I'm starting. It's been a while now. But every time I have to turn the settings on a game down to a really, really low settings in order to run. Especially when, like, it seemed like it was running fine. But a little stuttery. But then the, what really happened is the surge protector started triggering, which happens when it tries to run things that just my system just can't handle. Surge protector goes, It famously happened when I first installed Resident Evil 6. That's when Swingle and I were just getting ready to play through that game for the first time. And I loaded it up. I was like, man, this game looks great. Seemed to control okay. There wasn't any input lag. Surge protector started going off. 5 minutes in. Just, it's brutal, man. Swingle was like, oh, that's because you have to lower it down to potato. Come on, game. That was a game that even after lowering it down, it still looked good. I had a great time with Resident Evil 6, but that moment where you gotta lower the graphics, bro, it's just, I lose a little piece of myself every time. 52 minutes is what I clocked into the crew, too. Charming little game. Super casual. Clearly meant for a younger audience. I don't know. It's a game designed for a younger audience, but it's perfect for me because I'm dumb. I gotta say, when it comes to gaming in my house in the past week, the real star of the show has been Among Us. It's really a breakout game. Taking, well, Steam Categories is calling it social deduction, which, I think is a fitting name, but it's taking that concept and bringing it to a younger audience because it's really cartoony and stuff, and the kids are all getting into it. I love it, man. I enjoy, being able to play a game with my kids that, like, is really fun, which I think is tough to do. I got to play it with my wife a little while back, and you know what? She's really good at it. So, just enjoying figuring out who the imposter is, having a good time, and really, what's rare for me is being able to ride the wave on a brand new game. Oops, what is that? Okay, yeah, that's my tablet. I just got a new tablet just yesterday in the mail. But yeah, so Among Us, and they have a new update with some patch notes, and I was reading it, and one of the things that they're working on is, yes, stop it, I know you're there, cut it out. One of the things that they're working on is bringing accounts to the game. Right now, it's only $5, and if you play it on a tablet, it's even cheaper. It's free, but then $1.99 to really buy it, so you don't have to watch ads. But you don't need an account. So the problem is, anybody can say anything in chat, and there's really no accountability at all. Which, yeah, I know. Stop it. When you read the patch notes, it's like something that they're trying to solve. But I am enjoying it. It feels like the Old West, the way the early internet was, where people can just say anything, and the chat is crazy and it's unfiltered, and I don't know. It's a shame that I know it can't last because today video games can't sustain themselves that way, where anyone can just say whatever they want. But more than the ability to say whatever you want, it's like I bought this on the on Steam, and then I bought it once on Google Play, and so that means I can fire up my Steam version and my phone, and now the tablet that just came in the mail, I got it running on that as well, and I can play with my kids, and once accounts roll out, then it's going to be different. I can still do that, but I guess that means I'll have to come up with passwords and logins for every member of my family, for us all to play together. I guess that's how it would work, but I don't know. It's not entirely a bad thing, because it's not just the fact that people say crazy stuff. There's also dropping out is a big deal in the game. I mean, I talked about this when I mentioned it last week, but people start a match and then they don't get selected as the imposter, so they immediately drop. Oh, there's a lot of dropping out in Among Us, which, I don't know, it doesn't feel very game ruining, but if they could incentivize people to stay to the end of the game, that'd be good. But I like it. I like what they're doing. It's in a good playable state right now. Very, very enjoyable for $5 on PC. And I hope they continue to make it better. And to be honest, I hope a more robust game like it comes out, because it's pretty stripped bare. I mean, it's a very enjoyable experience, but it's very stripped down. There's not a lot of bells and whistles. How we doing now? It's 6:34 in the morning, and it's Wednesday. This has to go up today. I've got less than 25 minutes to finish the show, and we're about 28 minutes in. Oh dear. All right. I'm still settling into this new schedule, boys and girls, but we're going to make it work. So we're heading over to the channel dashboard right now. Let's see what's going on in the comments. Uncheck ones I haven't responded to, because I want to be able to respond if I feel like it. We're going to drop back a week. This kills me. 12 minutes in, Alex Swingle writes, ASMR CF is a bit strange. I imagined you were practicing for adult series. My hot breath enveloping your neck. Gross. Kaiser responds, I was getting the feeling that CF was recording a remake of the Blair Witch Project. Yeah, I don't know. That when I was doing that recording out on the front step, for one thing, I didn't want to wake anybody, right? I don't want to walk out like in the middle of the neighborhood at night. It's time for talk about video games, man. But I didn't feel like a weird ASMR thing at the time. And then I went back and listened to it after reading your comment, and I was like, oh yeah, that did sound kind of weird, didn't it? Oh well, just know it wasn't intended that way. Swingle. Good to hear from you, brother. Kaiser as well. Kaiser doesn't leave a weekly comment. He's not one of these guys who always has something for me. So whenever he drops a comment, that's always good times. Desm101 says, I like Burnout Takedown. I have Burnout Legends on PSP, and they are pretty fun. I was also playing Sonic & Knuckles recently. Those stages are very long. I guess it's because those levels were planned as later stages of Sonic 3 before they split it into 2 parts. I didn't know that. 53 minutes in. Thanks for coming by the stream and hang out, man. That was really cool that you and the kiddo were kicking it. Good times. Yeah, we enjoyed it very much. Uh, we actually I set up the Twitch app. After that evening really got me into Twitch. I bought a DJ rig, like one of those. What do we got here? I got like an entry-level hobbyist DJ controller that you can't operate without a PC. Newmark Party Magazine. Newmark. Yeah, here we go. It's the same one that we picked out like while we were in your chat. Just a simple little rig. It's got a few faders on it. That's pretty much all we need. I'm not doing anything fancy over here. I might do put together like a chiptune set or something like that, just for fun, just for good times. But I have that put away for Christmas, so that's gonna be my Christmas present this year. Yeah, and then and I have I am checking out streaming again since then, so that was a really cool night. Most of the streaming that I watch is just Salty Bet, right? Sometimes when I'm working or when I'm trying to take care of things, I'll open up Salty Bet in my left monitor and just let it run. I know that this group, in our group, we've had like a long history with streaming. Not so much me, but like mostly Kaiser and Sendu and those guys. Long time into live content. But what I don't hear us talk about is what sort of live content do you actually consume, right? Do we have anybody here who actually watches streams like from outside of this group? I tried it a little bit like a year ago or so, probably maybe a couple years ago. This was like when Dr. Disrespect was really making his rise to fame. I checked him out, and then I checked out like a very small Minecraft streamer that I watched a few times. It's like a small streamer that only has like a few people in the stream, but the world that he built was, whew. That's clearly the only game he plays. And then I followed a few people who played like older classic games, like a Quake streamer and then like a Morrowind streamer and stuff like that. But it never became like an all the time thing for me. You know, I don't know. I like the idea of being able to watch things at my own pace, which kind of makes Twitch difficult for me to follow. But you know, a lot of good stuff happens on Twitch. I've always been more of a YouTube guy, but I can't deny that Twitch definitely has some good stuff happening. Ironically, I say that after getting into Twitch, watching a DJ set, and apparently DJs on Twitch are having a tough time right now because of the way they handle copyright issues. So the irony is not lost on me, but I don't care about the company. There's no, the company itself, I've got no sympathy or interest for. It's the people who stream that I think are awesome. So that's me and Twitch. I'm probably going to try a bit more, consuming a bit more Twitch over the next week or two. And if I find anything awesome, I'll definitely let you know about it. I tried a couple times to get into the live streaming myself. Didn't really work. I think I still have. If you go to YouTube, in my YouTube channel, I tried live streaming Quake Champions once, and I got like 30 seconds into the stream or something, and my daughter walks in when she was really little, and I was just like, well, that's the end of me streaming Quake Champions. I did that, and then I actually do have a Twitch channel that I opened a couple years back, and I streamed a few like GOG games, maybe like 4 or 5 times, playing Eye of the Beholder. I played and Dungeon Hack and games like that, and I also remember playing Jill of the Jungle, but I'm not sure what it was. Maybe it just felt like it was too much to set up or something. I don't know. It just didn't. It didn't hold me. I don't know. Maybe you have to have more free time to be into Twitch. It's tough on an adult schedule. It's tough to keep up with the YouTube channels that I watch on an adult schedule. Just never mind like the random YouTube channels that I just stop in and check out. I'm talking about like the ones where it's like, okay, this is a must-watch YouTube channel. Every single time that a new video comes out here, I'm watching it, no exceptions. I navigated away from my comments, which was a problem. What did I do? Can I just hit back and resolve it? Let's see. And we're loading. This is the part where I try and fill air while my comments load again. Yeah, there we go. Right back where I was. Good. Desm, yeah, so I didn't know that about Sonic 3. I probably should have. It sounds like something probably Sendu tipped me off to. Once upon a time. But that goes to figure. Excuse me. Yeah, I played that on the old PS2, which has been good. PS2's been a good choice to be a good desk console. Okay, that Alex Wingo writes, Memoirs of Magic, a Doom mod you may like. Just found out about it. Alright, this is a YouTube video we're opening up. Always some risk when I try and open up a YouTube video on the air, but well, let's give it a shot. Nope, it goes straight to, not YouTube, but straight to like I don't know, download page. Something that looks like Web 1.0. Well, maybe that's not fair. It's called Memoirs of Magic. Release trailer. Let's mute that so that it doesn't go crazy. Looks very cartoony. It's definitely a Doom mod. Charming. Once upon a time there existed a magical world where magic monsters and many mythical magic creatures. Mystical magical creatures existed. The world is called World of Magic, which was ruled by the S.A. royal family who brought much peace and prosperity to the land. However, peace was disturbed by blah 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 blah. Features 1 of 7 classes. Wheel of... Too loud? Let's turn that down a little bit. Golly. Summon 6 powerful dragons to aid you in battle. Oh, it looks cool. Alright, we're going to pin that tab. Follow Strawberry Otakai. Otzi. I don't know. I don't know how you say that. Awesome. Thanks, man. I still like Doom mods. As old as Doom is, they creative things are still being done with the mod scene, which I thoroughly enjoy. Thanks for checking in, brother. Hemrock, 3 days ago, writes, thanks for another episode and thanks for reading my email. No worries about the delay. 34 minutes in, I say publish the video on the Retro Junk Box, but ultimately it's your call. 36 minutes in, a floppy disk exchange sounds awesome. Yeah, doesn't it, though? 36 minutes and 40 seconds in, the magnet my brother was holding was also one of those magnets on a stick, similar to your childhood experience. What are your favorite DS games? I remember you were really digging the Darkspire back in the day. Do you still have that one? I dusted off my DS Lite last night for the first time in a long time. Stay safe and take care, my friend. I do have my DS, and I do have the Darkspire. Hang on 1 second. I can't... Time constraints forbid me from going off the air to set this up. Typically, when running a podcast, you know, if I'm going to grab a piece of equipment off the shelf, it's better to pause it. Pause the recording. There's no reason to keep recording while I do it. But if I do that this week, I'll never get this thing done. And it gets better. I was pulling down my shoebox full of portable games, and it looks like, okay, inside that shoebox there's a Ziploc bag that has my DS stuff, and it looks like that's not there. I guess one of the kids must have got into it Oh wow, this is interesting to have happen on the air. See, I hate losing things. It really like gets under my skin in a bad way when I lose something. So I have just lost my DS stuff. But that's okay. I know it hasn't gone far. To answer your question, yes, I still have the Darkspire. I don't have the boxes for all my DS games, but that one I do have the box for. You know I'm a big Wizardry guy, and that was a game that really channeled Wizardry in a big way. The difficulty was way up. The parties are a little bit smaller than they are in Wizardry. And to be frank, they included the like a soundtrack and a CD, which I held on to, but I didn't think the soundtrack was very good. Like when it first came, I like really tried to get into it because I loved what they were doing. But it's got kind of a weird soundtrack in my opinion. But yeah, it's good game. Good game. Shame we don't have too many games like that. Because the thing about the Darkspire is it seems like the few people who like that kind of game enough to check it out really dug it. So, yeah, I don't know. As far as my favorite DS games, my favorite DS experience since I got the system has been back when Pokemon Soul Silver and Heart Gold came out. That generation of Pokemon games was so good. With the Pokewalker, it was exploitable, but it was still fun. So I didn't feel locked out of doing things. Being able to play online, which you can't do anymore. It was, I don't know, it was good times. It's good times. These days, I'm still a sucker for Namco Museum games. The Namco Museum on the DS is particularly enjoyable because when you go to the option screen to mess with a game, what it shows you is like, it shows you like a photo of the arcade board, and then you can left and right, and you flip the dip switches, and that's how you make changes. It's pretty clever. What else for the DS? It's been a while since I've been into the DS, to be perfectly honest. Way back when TCR started, okay? One of the shows that really got me going. I often credit my introduction to podcasting to Go Nintendo, which is true. They were the first. But one of the shows I listened to prior to starting TCR was a show called Radio Ninty, and they're not around anymore. They were a very small show, and when they went under, and their webpage went extinct, their backlog disappeared. So I don't think you can hear them anymore unless you find them on archive.org. But Ninty being the way they explained it, it was like the UK slang for Nintendo. So it's like Radio Nintendo. So Radio Ninty had an episode about Scribblenauts, like when it first came out, because that was originally a DS game in its first release. And I remember them talking about Scribblenauts extensively, just being able to play with the title screen, walking around on the title screen, and utilizing the summoning objects and having a good time with them. And that was, excuse me, an early example of a game that I heard talked about on a podcast that I actually got a hold of, thanks to my good friend Engie, and it delivered. Scribblenauts was a good game. Nowadays, I mean, that was so long ago. That game's been on many different platforms, and I have it on Steam as well, but I never quite had as much fun with it as I did back on the DS when it first came out. In a slightly related note, one time when I was driving my family to Disney World, I found a copy of Cooking Mama for the DS in a parking lot at a rest stop, and that really happened. I still have it. I've never tried to run it even once, but I did pick it up and bring it home. I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't run. It looks like it's been chewed up by a dog. Couldn't let it go, though. It was a video games. Where did we leave off? Yeah, stay safe and take care. Hemrock, thanks for checking in, man. I hope your life is going well. We need to get you and we need to get Durabka back together and have a round table where we push Alpha Centauri forward a few turns. Because I feel like we're like mid-late game now. Maybe not late game, but at least mid-game. Like taking a turn in our Alpha Centauri game after like 2 or 3 years, you can actually see there is a real game now. And it's very difficult to keep up with. I think among the three of us, it very often gets held up, which is fine. But I think it might be good to have a meeting. You know, last time we met was at MagFest, and where we were able to push it forward only like 2 or 3 turn cycles. But yeah, it might be good. By the way, while we're on the subject, Durabka, good old Sean, I installed, I think I talked about this last week as well, but I installed Tabletop Simulator on my PC. We talked about getting like a monthly game of good old D&D or some sort of tabletop role-playing experience. A monthly game night together, which I think would be fun. I think it's too taxing now to do like a weekly game night, because years ago we would do it every week. Every Thursday we'd get together and we'd play like Micro Light 20, which is like a rules light version of Dungeons and Dragons. And Sean was the DM. This was actually how I met Sean, for those of you who weren't around back then. We talked. We used to have like an old school forums on my website, and D&D came up on the air, and there was a little bit of interest in it, and someone said, "Why?" I think it was actually Shintai might have been the first one who said this. He was like, "Why don't you just run a game? We're not D&D people. There's an interest here, but we all kind of want to experience it. Why don't you just run it?" And I was like, I don't know. It's going to be kind of a goof. It's not going to go well. I'm not really sure how to run a game. I don't know. And then Sean, who was a stranger at the time, showed up on the boards and was like, "Yeah, I can run a game. I know how to do that." And sure enough, that was probably. I wasn't there for the first couple games. I remember clearly listening to a recording of the first game in the car driving to class, because I was in college at the time. But that ended up being a long-running campaign that I got in on and had a great time with. Oh my gosh. So I don't know if we're going to play D&D. I don't know if we're going to play Micro Light 20. You know, we might end up just, I don't know, playing cards or something. But I did get Tabletop Tabletop Simulator installed, and I actually loaded it up and played Solitaire a couple times, just so that I would understand how working the manipulatables works. You know, shuffling a deck of cards, operating a hand, rolling dice, those types of things. It was a little weird at first, but that went away pretty quickly, and I actually really like it. So, you know, we just need to pick out a day, which I know is tough, but let's make it happen. Mecha Menace writes, "Because I know YouTube likes to block comments like this, I'll preference my next post with informing you that I'm going to post a link. Look for it in your to-be approved comments in your studio." You know what? I think it actually made it. Held for review is empty, and you've got 2 comments back to back, so I think it actually pushed you through. "I saw this and thought of you," he says. He shows a link to Teenage Engineering, their new pocket operator series, which is their Mega Man themed pocket operator. Yes, engineering is an actual domain. But besides that tidbit, this 8-bit synth applies logic to sequences to create battles between Mega Man and Robot Masters and Wily. How cool is that? There's even one based on Street Fighter. There's too many things to keep track of these days. Mecha Menace, so glad you posted this. First of all, let's talk about Teenage Engineering and their pocket operators. This little gizmo here, I've got 2 of these. Not the Mega Man themed one, but it's a sequencer with a sample-based simulator in it. And I believe the one that's Mega Man themed, I was going to say this one has a microphone in it, but it doesn't. The Street Fighter one does. or you can program it with I don't know. I haven't played with the Mega Man one, so I couldn't tell you 100%. But the ones that I do have, I've got 16 different sound samples, and then of those, I can do a beat, and then I can do like a melody over it, and then each of the 16 samples also has 16 like effects, so I can program a 16-step sequencer with 16 different instruments, and then I can run live effects over it, and then of those 16 steps, I can also maintain 16 pages, so that I can jump back and forth between pages, run live effects, and it's kind of fun. They're a little bit limited, and I'm not gonna lie, the interface did take some getting used to, but they are a really good time. I have the PO Arcade, which is the purple one. That's probably the one you're gonna see paired up the most with like the Mega Man thing, because the PO Arcade operates mostly like a drum machine. You can do a few melodic things with it, but it mostly like a chiptune drum sound. And then I also have the PO Sub, which is the bass, almost like a 303 type sound to it, but not quite. So I got a bass machine and I got a chiptune drum machine that work and operate like this PO 128, the Mega Man PO. And they have two headphone jacks, right? So there's an actual headphone jack, and then the other one is an in. So you can chain them together. And the way they work it is, it splits the audio signal into two because it's stereo, right? So you have the right and the left. But instead of it being a stereo signal, the right one is the actual audio signal, and the left one is a sync pulse. So what happens is, you have to, it takes a little messing with the settings to figure out how it's going to interpret the signals, but the pulse, the sync pulse, will get all your sequencers running in time. There's my alarm. That's the alarm telling me to get ready for work. And then it'll run them in time, and then it'll also blend all your inputs together, so you can run multiple ones, and then at the end of the chain, send it out into like a mixer or something. So those little pocket operators, man, they're powerful little gizmos. They're a lot of fun. I remember before COVID, I would go to the gym, and then the kids would do like their sort of aerobics class, and I would run a couple miles. This is when I was running. Oh man, even saying this just like pangs me because I kind of miss this. I would run a couple miles a couple times a week, and then I would sit in like this lounge area while the kids finished their gymnastics class, and oftentimes I would just get out my PO Arcade and jam. These were jam sessions that, to me, in my heart, they were like super awesome, high quality chiptune jams. I don't want to know what the reality is, because they were lost in time. They were not recorded in any way. They were just live. They were just experienced between me and this machine. And when the machine went off, they were gone. Enjoyed in the moment and nowhere else. Yeah, the pocket operators are dope, man. Dope. I do enjoy them very much. The whole thing about constructing, you're looking at the display and you see Mega Man on the left and you see Wily on the right, and the different actions that you perform with the synthesizer do affect Mega Man and Wily somehow, but it's going to be matter of fact. It's not like a Tiger Electronic game with a synthesizer in it, or a synthesizer with a Tiger Electronic game in it, because the old ones have that too, except not with any sort of intellectual property. Like the sub, there's actually a submarine, and when you play the different notes, you can see the little men walking around in the submarine doing things. But it's very, very weird, very, unresponsive. It's not like, oh, I can manipulate this man by changing the pitch or something like that. It doesn't let you do enough with the display for it to really make a difference. It's just something to look at, I guess. But yeah. Oh, and the Street Fighter one is a remake of the one that actually contains a sampler. So the Street Fighter one contains a microphone. It's basically the PO Knockout, which I think, or PO 33, the chain in jack, people are putting in inputs from, like, I don't know, records or radios or something like that, and then you can load it with samples and chop it up, and people can do a lot of creative things with it. That's really the one everyone wants, is this old PO 33, or the Knockout, as it's called. So the Street Fighter one is a remake of that Knockout, but all of the onboarded sounds, all of the preloaded samples are just, the Street Fighter, hi-yahs and chops and kicks and Hadoukens and whatnot. Hey, pretty cool stuff. A little expensive, I'm not going to lie. This Mega Man one is $89. And bear in mind, you're getting a bare circuit board. So the ones that I bought the circuit boards, and then I paid an extra $30 to get like a silicone overlay so that they had touchable buttons. Because you look at this thing, and these are the bare, tactile, like almost breadboard buttons. Like if you took a Nintendo controller and you tore it apart, right? And you pulled off the plastic casing, and then inside the casing you took off the little silicone button pads underneath it, that's what you might see. Although, actually, I think a Nintendo controller, once you pull out the silicone pads, I think is really just a bare circuit board with little to no contacts, but I don't know, something like that. Point is, if you actually buy one of these things, you're not going to want to just buy the circuit board, you're going to want to buy some sort of casing as well. People who use these things heavily, they don't keep them bare. They put them in something. But yeah, that's awesome link. So thank you, Mecha Menace, for bringing that up. I saw this and got excited about it, but I probably would not have brought this up on the air otherwise. And that is it. Those are all and look at that. We made it. 56 minutes in, almost an hour, and I'm 5 minutes late getting ready for work. So I don't have time to get the outro music going because I'm late for work, but thanks for hanging out. Thanks for partying. And tomorrow's Thanksgiving. I hope that you're doing well. And if you're away from family, then just know that there's a lot of things in this life to be thankful for. We have our health. We have time. There's food to eat. If you're listening to this podcast, then technologically we must be pretty well off, right? Because we can do that. We can communicate with each other. We've reached a place where you can come into my office before work in the morning and you can hang out with me and listen to chiptunes and talk about video games. How cool is that? So here's to you out there. I hope life's going well. I'll see you next week.